Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little different. We've got a single stack of sources, a prospectus, some welcome materials, a whole set of foundational documents.
And we're going to use them to reverse engineer the blueprint of an entire community, an intentionally designed one.
Exactly. It's a look inside an attempt to create a fully sovereign, parallel civilization.
It's a fascinating set of documents because they aren't just architectural plans or, a sales pitch for development. They're what the creators call a faith-based civilizational renaissance engine.
A renaissance engine.
Yeah, it's about building systems, not just buildings.
Okay, so let's get into it. The project is called Shiloh, and it's located deep in the heart of Texas. It was founded by a group called the Spring Valley Freedom Lodge.
Right, and our sources, they come mainly from Frontier Media and their analysis group, Notebook Studios.
Which is their official interpreter, right?
Yeah.
They're tasked with explaining this whole complex design.
And the fact that Notebook Studios even exists tells you something important. They want this project to be understood deeply. It's not a secret. They want people to grasp the mechanics of it.
So that's our mission for you today. We're going to unpack the blueprint for this Commonwealth, as they call it. And this isn't just another housing development.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's described as this multi-layered regenerative ecosystem. Everything from the governance down to how they grow their food is engineered to work together.
That level of intentional design is really the hook here. When you say engineered, you mean every single piece, the economy, the culture, the law, even the power grid, is designed to be one massive, resilient system.
That's the idea.
So let's start with the big picture, the core thesis. What is Shiloh actually trying to do? The documents say it's an 86-acre site, Texas soil, focused on unifying things like enterprise, education, and faith.
Well, at its core, the project is positioned as a bold solution to what the founders see as major national problems.
What kind of problem?
They use phrases like moral decay and collapsing institutions. So the whole community structure is built to stand against those forces, and it's built on a foundation of Christian virtue and tradition.
And they're really clear about one thing, something they repeat a lot. They say they are not separatists. This isn't a retreat. They call it Renaissance, not revolution.
A critical distinction for them. Shiloh is framed as a rejuvenation of America, a parallel path that's private, lawful, and, faith-driven. The goal is to awaken what they believe is the best of America's heritage.
They even have a motto for it.
They do. Prosperity pursued for posterity, not for profit alone. That generational thinking is baked into the entire economic model.
Which brings us to this core concept they have, the living architecture. They don't see Shiloh as just property. They call it a living architecture for civilizational development.
Right, where everything intertwines, the ecology, the culture, the economy, the spiritual life, it's all meant to be seamless. They literally describe the whole campus as a single regenerative organism.
An organism, so it has organs and a nervous system.
In a metaphorical sense, yes. The Prometheus Institute, for example, is the brain and lungs. It directs the R&D. The energy microgrid is the circulatory system, pumping resources everywhere. The whole idea is if one part gets stronger, the entire system benefits.
Okay, if it's a living organism, it needs a skeleton, a structure. Which brings us to governance and legal sovereignty. You can't build a private civilization without a very, very protected jurisdiction.
Absolutely. And the governance piece is probably the most complex part of the whole design. It's built on a triad legal structure. The whole point is insulation, legal insulation, so that outside forces can't knock the project off its mission.
And they use that body metaphor again, don't they? The head, the body, and the hands. Let's walk through what each one does.
Okay, so you start with the head. This is the spiritual shield. Legally, it's a 508c1a ecclesiastical trust.
We don't need to get lost in the tax code, but what does that do for them?
Its function is everything. The trust holds all the land, all the core assets. And because it's an ecclesiastical trust, it gives them maximum religious governance protection. It's the legal anchor. It makes sure the mission can't be compromised from the outside.
It's the constitutional backbone, basically. Okay, so next is the body. This is the Private Membership Association, the PMA. This is for daily life.
Exactly. The PMA is the civic and commercial engine. Because it's a private association, they can regulate commerce and social life among the members in a private jurisdiction, separate from a lot of public regulations.
So members can run businesses, trade goods, contribute labor.
All under their own shared covenantal rules. And the documents use this specific phrase, members aren't residents, they're citizens of a private civilization.
Which means the PMA is how they can have their own marketplace, their own school, everything.
Precisely.
Okay, and that leaves the hands. The Social Purpose Corporation, or SPC. This has to be their link to the outside world.
That's exactly what it is. The SPC is the bridge. It manages external revenue, licensing, media, partnerships with universities, you name it. It lets them engage with the public, earn money, export their ideas.
Without breaking the seal on their internal sovereignty.
Right, it's a controlled boundary, a very intentional one.
And what holds all three of these together is what they call covenant citizenship. It's not passive.
Not at all. Membership is covenantal. You have to uphold the shared values, faith, honor, stewardship, excellence. It's not just about paying fees. It's about actively contributing to the collective prosperity. It's a real ethical and functional contract.
Okay, so that's the legal shield and skeleton.
Yeah.
But what about the lifeblood? The money. This brings us to their sovereign economic model. The whole system is designed to concentrate value inward.
Yes, what they call civilizational economics. The goal is to make the community self-fueling, sovereign, and as insulated from outside economic shocks as possible.
So if all the value is created and consumed and accounted for inside the PMA,
The resilience goes way up.
and for that, you need your own currency, or at least a way to measure value. That's where the prosperity tokens, or PTs, come in. But they're very clear these are not crypto.
That's a crucial point. They define them as redeemable member credits, labor vouchers, and endowment currencies. Think of it more like a really advanced co-op credit system. It's a way to value labor, contribution, and access to internal goods.
But if you create an internal currency, you have to back it with something real, otherwise it's worthless. How do they make sure the PTs have stable value?
By tying them to 6 tangible asset classes, they want the currency anchored in real-world productivity. You can basically group them into 3 buckets. First is land and labor.
So stewardship of the land itself and the actual work people do.
Right. Second is infrastructure, the surplus from their energy production and the output from their utilities. And third is capital, the value of their internal businesses and any philanthropic money that comes in. It's diversified.
So the PTs are the fluid, day-to-day currency, but they also have something for long-term ownership, the member equity units, MEUs. How are those different?
The MEUs are the store of value. They're not for buying lunch. They're equity proxies tied directly to physical campus assets, legacy lots, shared infrastructure, even governance weight. They're like private shares in the civilization's success.
So as the campus gets built and assets appreciate, the MEUs are supposed to grow in value.
Exactly. They call them private civilization shares. It's about generational ownership.
And the sources just keep coming back to one thing that generates all this value. Energy is the new currency. The infrastructure isn't just for keeping the lights on.
No, it's an economic engine.
Ah,
The campus microgrid is designed to be a net positive producer. We're talking solar, wind, biogas, even experimental tech, and it's all EMP protected. That tells you how serious they are about resilience.
and this creates value in multiple ways.
A few key ways. It gives members PT premiums, it drives up the value of the MEUs, and it generates actual cash from selling surplus energy.
And they're explicit about how they'll monetize it. They mention using the surplus for things like Bitcoin mining and also licensing their utility tech to outsiders through the SPC. Every asset is also a revenue stream.
Nothing is wasted.
All right, if the governance is the skeleton and the economy is the blood, let's look at the physical body, the campus itself. They organize the design into 3 regional ecosystems.
Again, it follows that living body metaphor. You can think of it as moving from the public edge to the private heart. You start in Northland, which they call the voice. This is the cultural and commercial face of Shiloh.
So this is where they interact with the public. It's got the Great Hall for events, festival grounds, and this thing they call the Shiloh Bazaar.
And the bazaar is a really interesting concept. They call it the Whole Foods of the New Kingdom. Because it operates under the PMA, it's permitted to sell things that might be restricted in the public domain.
Like what?
Things like raw milk, certain homeopathic remedies, non-FDA regulated health products. It's a physical example of their private jurisdiction at work in the marketplace.
Okay, so then you move inward to central Shiloh, the mind and heart. This is the core, the center of worship and strategy.
This is where the spiritual and intellectual capital lives. You have the church and sanctuary gardens, the Prometheus Institute for R&D and their youth academy, and this incredible restored grain silo they've turned into an executive residence, the Shiloh Silo.
Like a castle tower.
Pretty much. And there's also a 3-level wellness center there, focusing on functional medicine, a birth center, hyperbaric oxygen, that kind of thing.
And finally, you get to Southland, the home,
Mm.
the generational sanctuary.
This is the village, the residential village with family homes and tiny homes, a huge greenhouse complex, the farm zone, and the Shiloh HQ Command Center, which is the brain of that microgrid we talked about. It's where life, food, and energy all meet.
The aesthetic of the whole place is interesting, too. It's this fusion. They call it sacred Renaissance realism, meeting cowboy frontier strength.
Yeah, you get the grand traditional forms, arched colonnades, stone, timber mixed with very Texan materials like local limestone and rustic barnwood. It's their philosophy in architectural form. Tradition and resilience, order and self-reliance.
And underneath all of it is this mandate. Regeneration, not exploitation.
It's all about circular systems. Their goal, and it's a radical one, is that waste becomes a myth. So they're designing in things like syntropic agriculture, which mimics forest patterns, complex greywater recycling.
And these atmospheric water generators that pull drinking water out of the air.
Right. Everything has to cycle back and feed the organism.
Okay, let's shift to the lore behind this place, because it's not framed like a business venture. It's framed as a kind of destiny. The story starts on the ancestral land where the founder, Berdicius G., grew up.
Yeah, the site of the original Freedom Lodge and his family farm. And the documents frame his preparation as this decade-long odyssey. He did construction work with Habitat for Humanity. He did media production. He spent years studying ecclesiastical law, philosophy.
And that original Freedom Lodge became the prototype.
The crucible, they call it. It was formalized in 2024 as the 508 C1A test case. It was the first hearthstone of the whole Commonwealth. They made sure the legal architecture actually worked before they scaled up.
And then there's the name, Shiloh. According to the story, it wasn't chosen. He felt it was a summons.
Yes, and the meaning he found in it late in the process apparently confirmed for them that the whole venture was prophetic.
The documents point to Genesis 49.0, which has this dual meaning that just fits their mission perfectly. First, he to whom it belongs, a title of, rightful dominion or kingship.
And the second meaning is the place of peace, which refers to the ancient spiritual capital where the Ark of the Covenant once rested. So you have both authority and sanctuary in one word.
And there's another layer, a numerological one. Using gematria, the Hebrew system, the root word for Shiloh has a numerical value of 345.
Which is the exact same value as the name Moses. And Notebook Studios really emphasizes this connection. For the founders, it links the project to these big themes of deliverance, leadership, covenant, and destiny.
So let's pull all of this together. Shiloh, the 86-acre physical community, is really just the catalytic prototype for a much bigger vision they call the Prosperity Commonwealth.
That's the end game.
Yeah.
The success of the Shiloh model, its governance, its economy, it's all designed to be exported and replicated. First across Texas, and then in their Phase V roadmap, across the nation. It's meant to be a seed that grows.
And that's why Frontier Media and Notebook Studios exist. Their job isn't just to report on it, it's to interpret it, to broadcast the methodology so that it can be replicated. They're the observer and the herald.
Exactly. It's an entire civilization being built from a blueprint down to the last brick and the last prosperity token.
It really makes you wonder if every piece is engineered to serve the whole, if the legal structure reinforces the economy and the economy reinforces the faith, can they actually achieve that stable, prosperous outcome they're looking for?
That is the fundamental question of their entire philosophy, what they call civilizational ecology. The belief is that if a resident prospers, the community prospers, and the land prospers, which in their view means the kingdom prospers. They see the land itself as a primary text, a kind of scripture. The whole radical idea is that human flourishing can be engineered through intentional closed-loop design, and that leaves a provocative thought for you to consider. If every single incentive is aligned toward a predefined communal and spiritual goal, can that kind of prosperity ever truly be separated from the intentions of its original architects?